friends, and welcome to my 5-Minute Friday. And this week we're going over taxing the church. I know, exciting things. Separation of church and state only applies when it protects the church, never the state. Churches will host and bend the ears of political idols, ironically, when they are meant to worship no idol aside from their God, but who's counting? So that they can feel their voices heard and keep the pockets of their pastors lined. Some may argue that taxing the church will inflict undue harm to churches and stop them from being able to support communities. But when you have pastors like Pastor Creflo Dollar, who faced scrutiny back in 2015 when he urged his congregation to help him buy a $65 million private jet, while having church members like Mary Jones, who had planned on answering the pastor's call, even though she rides 20 miles every Sunday to go to Dollar's church. I wonder how many of his congregation are like Mary. I'm sure that $65 million could go to them getting reliable vehicles and insurance for the year. A church is meant to help and support its communities and its members. But clearly the new American gospel continues to teach individualism and forgetting about others. As long as your sky daddy is proud of you, that's all that matters. If you rely on donations from those who come to you for guidance, with the cover of it being that your holy text says hand over 10% of your pre-tax dollars to the church, and then they can't pay their fair share to be in the market, then maybe they shouldn't survive. I want you to think about your current salary and taking 10% of that and tithing that to your local church. Now, take that same amount and imagine giving it to a random corporation. Does it feel worse? Does it feel the same? Because it's basically the same thing. We often complain on the show how working people pay a higher tax rate than billionaires and giant corporations. Well, those billionaires and giant corporations pay a higher rate than churches do. When the ethical and moral ground is higher for billionaires, you know there's a problem. What I'm thinking is tax them according to their revenue, whether that's any sales of books, because these people just love hearing themselves speak, but also conning them into buying their Christian living books. The schools that they have open to continue to indoctrinate people, or their donations and tithes. If these churches want to feed or house those who genuinely need help, then they could do a write-off like other corporations at the end of the year. And before anyone says this is going to kill small, local, mom and pop churches, taxes are paid on the taxable income, which means revenue minus expenses. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate religion. I do find that it's important for people, and I'm not saying abolish it. Honestly, I love canon Jesus. He was a cool dude. It's fandom Jesus that I have a problem with. It's why I always say I took the Jesus teaching without the Jesus people. He's the one who radicalized me. He told me to take care of the poor and the sick, hate on the rich, and question the government. A brown Palestinian Jew taught me more about love and life than any Christian pastor ever could.